Hello, we're still reading through Lost Christianities and we're reading about the Gnostics. Gnostics, very important, very good group. If you're a Christian, you should know the Gnostics. This is the age, the information age, the age of study, the age of scholarship. Although many people are ignorant in this age, this is the age where actually all information, past and present, is available to us. Even though we can't consume it all, it's all there. So let's finish talking about the Gnostics. We will look at some of these lively polemics in a later chapter. For now, it is enough to note that if we want to know what Gnostics really believed, it is difficult to trust the claims of their sworn enemies. It is true that these proto-Orthodox authors sometimes use actual Gnostic documents and appear, on occasion, to have summarized them more or less accurately. When they do so, all to the good. But it is not always easy to know when we have reliable reportage and when we have scurrilous slander, or a clever mixture of the two. Fortunately, we do have other sources available for our study of Gnostic Christianity. Several original Gnostic documents were available even before the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library. Documents discovered in the 18th and 19th century at the time of their discovery. However, these documents made little impact on the world of scholarship, let alone the rest of the world, partly because the accounts found in them did not readily square with those provided by the proto-Orthodox heresiologists. Okay? Oh, heresiologists. I'm sorry. Heresiologists. Irenaeus and his successor, in a remarkable move that I suppose we should be accustomed to by now, scholars studying the phenomenon decided that these original Gnostic texts were less to be trusted than the reports of proto-Orthodox enemies of Gnosticism. That the Gnostic texts must in some way be aberrations from the Gnostic norm, and so they shunted them to one side. That is no longer possible since the discovery of texts near Nag Hammadi, many of them written by Gnostics, for Gnostics, presupposing Gnostic perspectives. Not even these documents, however, are problem-free for trying to make sense of the phenomena. For one thing, the very fact that some of these texts presuppose Gnostic views make them difficult to understand. It is somewhat like reading the sports page. An article about the first game of the World Series will not give a detailed account of the history of the rules of baseball. It is written for insiders who already have all the background information they need to make sense of the report. So it is with many of the Gnostic texts from Nag Hammadi. They are books for insiders who, unlike us, already have the background information they need. And there are other problems. Some of these texts are incomplete, and that over the centuries since their production, they have been worn out in places. Many of the manuscripts are riddled with holes, their missing words needing to be filled in. Sometimes restoring these texts is not overly difficult, but on other occasions we cannot be sure what was in the gaps. In the Gospel of Philip, for example, which is a seemingly random series of reflections and dialogues of Jesus and his disciples about the secrets of the universe, the meaning of the world and our place in it. The disciples are upset about Jesus' relationship with Mary Magdalene and ask, "Why do you love her more than all of us?" They are responding to something Jesus has done, but what is it? The preceding text is full of holes, as follows, and the companions of the small gap in the manuscript: Mary Magdalene, small gap, her more than, small gap, the disciples, small gap, kiss her, small gap, on the small gap. Our curiosity notwithstanding, we simply cannot know what was in the gaps. Probably the biggest problem with the Nag Hammadi text, however, is the one I have already alluded to, that they do not contain one coherent picture of Gnostic myth, belief, and practice, but represent widely divergent and disparate understandings of the world, the divine realm, humans, Christ, and so on. We should probably speak of Gnosticism rather than Gnosticism, or Gnosticisms rather than Gnosticism. Still, there do seem to be some wide-ranging agreement in basic worldview among many of these texts and the systems that appear to presuppose, as we can patch them together both from the texts themselves and the descriptions of their enemies. Here I will lay out some of the overarching tenets that appear to apply to these particular Gnostic systems, discuss some of the mythologies used to present these perspectives, and provide an overview of several of the more interesting texts that have been discovered. And then later we'll go into the tenets of Gnosticism. But as you can see, you have to study. And the one thing, when you find old documents, you might find gaps, you might find pages missing, it might be worn. But one thing I have to say is books are the most durable technology that man has ever made. And we don't think of books as technology, but they are. Yes, online stuff is great, but electricity is gone, you're finished. Because you can't charge your computers. If your connection is lost, you're finished. I mean, you can still have the documents, but you can't access them. So books are still the most durable technology. And so even books, though, can get worn over time if they're mishandled and things like that. And when we have situations like that, when we have missing gaps, what we have to do is, and this is why I say, be conceptual in our thinking. Because if we can get half of a picture or most of a picture, we can deal with the concepts that are there. And then we can have fun guessing what might have been in the gap. Until next time, thank you for your support. And I thank you, and I say take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.